We shall begin in just a few moments. Hello. Oh, there we go. Move the camera down. Now, as with the last several streams we have done here, locals might be a bit jittery. If it is, there are links over to Rumble and YouTube to enjoy the glory of this black and white live stream. If it's not jittery, that means that they have finished some of their upgrades that they are working on over at locals. If it is jittery, oh, that's a bummer. That's a bummer, but we'll work through it. We'll soldier through once again. Oh, the video is once again not so great. We are hearing the video is not so great. That is okay. I've been in contact with the locals team, who are amazing, and they have let me know that the video is being worked on. As Dylan puts it, it is horribly broken. I will continue to work with the locals team, and we will make sure this gets dialed in. This does work pretty darn good over on Rumble. So my recommendation is head to Rumble for the live stream. It also doesn't work so terrible on the YouTubes, but then again, then you're on YouTubes. So, you know, it's a mixed bag, it is. It's a big old bag of mixed stuff. Rumble is a bit behind YouTube, but that will not be the case next time I do this. That's a side effect of how I'm doing the streaming and a side effect of how Rumble does the buffering. So, yeah, but that's okay. All right, who needs video, right? That's right, Kazrico. Who needs video? Video is so 2023. We go all audio. I mean, heck, we're black and white anyway. All right, we got 2 shows we're doing today. You guys are hanging out with me as we do 2 shows. This is going to be a lot of fun. One of the shows is going to be what many of you expect, the declaration. Whoop, there's my cables. The declaration that we now have an RSS feed and what all that means and how that's going to work and all the details around that, which is pretty exciting. I'm going to talk about people going to Lunduke.com in the video, in the show that we're about to do. I'm going to talk about it as if there's something there that currently is not, because that is the case. If you go to Lunduke.com right now, oh dear live streamers, you will simply be redirected to a landing page on local that shows kind of a preview of my articles. That page is still going to exist, but Lunduke.com is going to forward to an entirely different page that links to that page, as well as RSS feeds and all sorts of other stuff. It's basically going to be a page of handy-dandy links around the Lunduke Journal world. So that's going to be happening later today. So the things I'm talking about, some of them are up and running now. Some of them will be a little later this afternoon. So don't freak out. Don't freak out. It'll be fantastic. You guys will like it very much. And then the second one we're going to be doing today, we're going to be talking about running Windows 3.1 software on NT-based operating systems, because I worked on that, and it's kind of an interesting topic. And being as it is Windows 3.1 week, we're going to get into that one a little bit, because I think it's a fascinating topic. Personally, I think it's really cool. So we're going to dive into that a little bit in a separate show. And what's fun is both of these shows are going to be released as free podcasts, because that's how all of them do going forward, but we'll talk about that during the show. Let's give it just 1 or 2 more minutes as I make sure everything is set up properly. Meow. Dancing with pandas, probably a bad idea. All right, what do we got? I don't need this. That doesn't need to be there. Close that off. That's a stupid thing. I'll click on that. Okay, there we go. All right, let me check my note here real quick. Did I do everything I needed to do? Yes. Yes, I did. I did everything I needed to do. Excellent. Well done. Fantastic. Okay. Close that off. Silence the phone, because I don't want that around. JP Dashes, YouTube will not keep the death grip on much longer. Honestly, we'll talk about that a little bit in the show that I'm about to do. All right, let's see. So we got, this is the title. This is this. That's that. What? Okay, that's that. And then here's my recording buttons. Let's Wonderbar. That right there is 5,000% Wonderbar. I'm not wearing my pineapple shirt today. It was dirty. It was really dirty. It smelled bad. I kind of intended to wear my pineapple shirt today, because I've done my lucky pineapple shirt for like 2 of these live streams over the last week or so. But I was wearing it day before yesterday when we went out and my kids were at their football practice, and I was running around in the sun, and I got so sweaty in that shirt, and it smelled ripe, and I haven't washed it yet. I was going to put it on. I looked at it, I'm like, you know what? It's dirty, but no one can smell me through the microphone. You know what I mean? Like, the video does not pick up the odors. It's not so bad that it has those cartoon little stink waftiness coming off of it, but it offended me. Like, it was just like, no. I can't keep that on my body for an hour or 2. It was too stinky. All right, here we go. Click on this. Yes, Alexi, Lunduke is getting old. Lunduke has been getting old since Lunduke was born. It's a weird side effect of being Lunduke. All right, guys, here we go. Let's rock and roll. Where's my thingies? Oh, well, what's the date today? Is it 21st? 22nd. Friday, September 22nd. I got to remember these things. Like it's been pointed out to me, I'm getting old and the memory goes. You know what I'm saying? That memory goes. All right, here we go. Wait, nope, that's not the right thing. This one. That one's the right thing, and then that one's the right thing. Those are the right things. I am now clicking on the right things. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes, we have done it. We have managed to hit so many of our goals over the last couple of weeks that we can now afford to make the RSS podcast feed for the entire Lunduke Journal podcast public and free for the whole world to enjoy. It's a pretty amazing thing. This is pretty cool. We've talked about this a little bit in the past, but basically what's going to happen starting today, if you are getting the recorded version of this show, the podcast RSS XML feed of joy is now available. What you want to do to get that, go to lunduke.com. That will instamagically forward you to a page that lists all of the myriad links in the Lunduke Journal universe, where you can find us on Rumble for the live streams, where you can find us on the various locals sites, and where you can get the RSS feed. And you can just plop that RSS feed into your podcast aggregator. You can go subscribe to us on iTunes from Apple or Spotify, or there's quite a few other places that index the podcast already. And you can just grab that, enjoy that, and rock and roll. Now, how this is going to work. All of the audio podcasts going forward are free. I will also be backfilling in some of the key ones that have been posted just exclusive to locals. I will post some of them over to the podcast feed as well. But going forward, every single one of the audio podcast shows will be posted to that audio podcast feed. Now, where does that audio podcast feed come from, you may ask? It comes from Substack. That's right. We at the Lunduke Journal, we left Substack. We had a big Substack presence, and we left Substack in favor of locals. Well, now it turns out we found one very good use for keeping Substack around, and that is to manage the audio podcast feed. So everything else stays on locals. All the video, all the community stuff. Going forward, the main host of the live streams, though that will happen on Rumble and possibly YouTube going forward as well. All of the standalone DVR videos, which we'll have more news on in just a second. All of the ebooks and the PDF ebooks, all of that stuff. Every little drop of it lives over at lunduke.locals.com. That's where all of it lives. That is the central, the nexus, the hub, the heart of the Lunduke Journal world. So if you don't have a subscription to lunduke.locals.com, you are literally missing out on almost everything. Articles, comic strips, communities, everything. It's all over there. But if you want the audio podcast feed, you can get it from lunduke.substack.com. Or, even better, just go to lunduke.com, right-click, and copy the link for the podcast feed. It's fantastic. So thank you to all of you who helped make this possible. I really do appreciate it. From the bottom of my icy cold nerdy heart, you guys are amazing. We have an absolutely phenomenal community, and we've all made this happen. Now, we had some other cool goals that we were trying to hit during September beyond just the free RSS podcast feed. And we hit all those. We hit everything. It's too late. We did everything. All of the Linux Sucks shows, every video of Linux Sucks and every video in the Linux Sucks family is now going to be available for free for everyone. That includes Mac OS Sucks that we recorded earlier this year. That includes the upcoming Linux Sucks 2023 that's happening just like less than 2 weeks from now. That includes Windows is Awesome, because that's kind of in the same family. All of these shows that have for quite some time lived entirely as exclusives at lunduke.locals.com will be made free for the world to enjoy. They will remain at locals, though. So what people will need to do is simply go to lunduke.locals.com and they can enjoy them there. I will have links to all of those videos at lunduke.com, so you can go in and watch all of those videos for free. You don't need to pay for them. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. Thank you again to all of the amazing subscribers that make this happen, because this is not possible without subscribers. Because you'll notice there's no banner ads anywhere. We're not doing an ad read like, make sure you get your credit card. Like, we don't do any of that. go to this VPN provider because they're the VPN provider of choice for your... No, we don't do that here. No tech company can influence us in any way because the sole source, the only source, 100% of the income we derive is from all of you. You are the only people on earth that can influence what the Lunduke Journal does. Just you guys. I mean, you guys are literally the boss. You're the bosses, and you're the customers, and the bosses and the customers. Man, you combine that together, and they are always right. That feels pretty good, right? No, Microsoft can't come in and influence us. Mozilla and Google and Apple, no one can influence us, which means we can continue to write those articles that really piss off the big tech companies. And we're gonna. We're gonna keep that gravy train rolling, baby. So the Lunduke Journal, a big amalgamation of all that's left that is true in the world of tech journalism. One of the only true outlets of completely independent tech journalism is kept independent because of you. And one of the funnest places to hang out with just some serious goofiness. We're doing Windows 3.1 week this week. I mean, why? Because it's fun, because it's there, because we can, because no one can tell us not to, and it's just glorious. So go to lunduke.com. You'll be forwarded to a page with just a ton of links. It's just a page with links. It's glorious. It's old school. That page with links, it lives over on Locals, and you'll enjoy it over there. You don't need a local subscription to go to that page of links and grab all those links and do all that stuff with it. But I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Not just to support the Lunduke Journal, but to support tech journalism in general, and to give yourself some benefits. Because you get, while the audio podcasts are free, if you sign up at lunduke.locals.com, you get all of the videos. You get video versions of the podcasts. If you're listening to this podcast right now, there's a video version. Now, the video version, it's nothing fancy. It's not some whiz-bang, high-produced thing with tons of jump cuts like a lot of YouTubers do and whatnot. No, it's me in black and white talking to you. That's it. That's it and that's all. We're old school. We do not edit anything here at the Lunduke Journal. We don't. Not a single bit. Not a drop of edits. No jump cuts here. But if you want to watch me record all of the podcasts that we're going to be doing going forward, go get your subscription at lunduke.locals.com. You want to get all of the exclusive videos beyond just the smattering of free ones like the Linux Sucks ones, but you want to get all of them, go to lunduke.locals.com and sign up. You want to get all of the ebooks. I don't know if people realize this. I don't talk about it a whole lot right now. But there's like a dozen free ebooks plus like a dozen PDF magazines that are free to grab, DRM free and glorious, over at lunduke.locals.com. So head over there, become part of the community, enjoy all of it, and marvel in its nerdiness, and enjoy the new RSS podcast feed. All right, everybody, that's it. I just wanted to let all of you know we've got another show coming on later today. We've got more shows coming all next week, so stick around, sign up to the podcast feed if you want it. Or you can just go over to lunduke.locals.com and watch every single podcast episode come out in glorious black and white video. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I do declare, end podcast. Simple, glorious. Yes, Avatar Kandagar. The Hawaiian shirt is better. This one's pretty good. Let's see if you can see this here. This one is well, it's one of my custom shirts that I don't really make anymore, but it's got the whole check for an AMD processor, and if it's got the AMD processor, then it's fine. But if it's not an AMD processor, it throttles the Linux kernel, which is still a problem on most versions of the Linux kernel, most new versions. I don't know if people realize that. It's crazy. It's still crazy to me that that's a thing. All right. All right, we're going to do another show here because I like shows. There we go. That's what I need there. All right, let me click on a few things here, make sure everything's working okay. I like dancing with things, dude. All right, this is working. Now, all of you who are watching on the various platforms, yes, we are back to live streaming on a regular basis. We're going to be live streaming every week going forward to do shows and all sorts of stuff. And the plan right now is to live stream pretty much every podcast we record. So you can always watch them live. I enjoy having it live. It's just kind of fun for me. The schedule is not yet set in stone. We will have some in the morning and some in the evening. We will have a bit more of a final schedule as we go, but right now we're just kind of fine-tuning it. So make sure, you're just paying attention to whatever platform you're on. I try to announce them over at lunduke.locals.com. Again, that's the center of the universe. So be over there. I announced this one over at lunduke.locals.com ahead of time so people can, actually plan for that. If you're on YouTube and Rumble and whatnot, you'll kind of miss out on a lot of those advanced notices because I just don't live on many other platforms. Like I didn't even announce this on Twitter or LinkedIn or anything like that. I just announced this over on Locals. Sometimes I might, get all fancy and announce it a bunch of places, but Locals is where it's at. Okay. We are going to we're going to do the Windows show now. This one's going to be fun. This is going to be fun. I get to dive into stuff I haven't jumped into in years. I mean, years and years and years. Dancing's fun. Dancing is fun. Dancing is super fun. Just a second. I gotta respond to this real quick, and then I'm gonna do this show here. Where is this? Okay, got it. All done. All done. Thank you for bearing with me there. That was fun. Do I pay attention to the comments in all platforms? I have to watch on Rumble right now, and I watch the Locals comments. But if I can blabber on Rumble, I am trying to watch the comments on all platforms. So normally, how this is working, and how this worked when we did the stream, the previous stream, is I had two laptops, one with all the comments off to the side, so Rumble, Locals, and YouTube, all just set up in a row, because all of the platforms do that thing where they stick all the comments in a little column on the right-hand side of the video. Like, they all do it that way. So I just resized the window so I have 3 columns in a row, and I can watch all the comments from everyone all at once. So normally, that's what I do. Right now, I'm not doing that because my other laptop needs a little bit of love. But I am switching between those tabs when I'm not doing the active show and watching all of you guys here. It would be cool if we could have an IRC bridge, but having an IRC bridge between Locals, Rumble, and YouTube, if someone can figure out how to make that work, I'm game. I'm totally 100% game. I don't think that's going to fly, but I love the idea. I love your moxie. All right, we're going to do this now. This is going to be kind of a fun one. I'm not sure how long this one's going to be, but we're going to just kind of get into how this all works, because I worked on a lot of this for for a number of years. So let's rock and roll. All right, here we go. In years gone by, this guy, this black and white man you see before you, if you are watching the video version of this podcast, he worked at Microsoft. That's right, I spent many a year working at Microsoft. And one of the things that I got to spend several years working on was Windows 2000 and Windows ME, but we're not going to talk about that because I have PTSD still over that release. And since it is Windows 3.1 week here at the Lunduke Journal, where we are marveling in the glories that is Windows 3.1, I thought it would be fun to take a little side detour and talk about how Windows 3.1 applications ran on Windows 2000, because it's actually kind of an interesting topic. This is the Lunduke Journal Technology Podcast for Friday, September, let's say 22nd. It's September 22nd, in the year of our Lord 2023. By the way, side note, go to lunduke.com. There's a series of links there where you can get the RSS podcast feed for this show, where you can see where you can watch all the video versions of this show, where you can get all of my ebooks, where you can get all of my articles. There's a massive number of articles, including ones where I absolutely skewer the big tech people. So go on over to lunduke.com and you'll find all those links there. It's glorious. Consider subscribing, because we do not take any money ever under any circumstances from any tech company. It's just a policy we have, and we don't break it. All right, let's talk about this, because this is kind of neat. So in Windows NT, it does not have native support for Windows 3.1 software. It just doesn't. Now, many people who ran Windows 2000 and Windows XP were used to being able to run Windows 3.1 apps. They worked. 99% of the time they worked. There were a few occasions where they really didn't, but most of the time they just worked. And Microsoft is heralded. I mean, they are, for all the things they do wrong, they are generally, until fairly recently, regarded as kind of the gold standard in maintaining backwards compatibility of their operating systems. You know what I mean? I mean, when you can run a Windows 3.1 app in Windows 95 and Windows 98 and Windows ME, and Windows 2000 and Windows XP, and I mean, it's amazing. That's an amazing amount of backwards compatibility, and that's fantastic, right? So how did they do that exactly? Because these were not the same kernels. Windows 2000 and Windows 3.1 were nothing alike. They were light years different. I mean, Windows 2000, as the splash screen tells you, was built on NT technology, which is a really weird way of phrasing it, because NT stands for new technology. And so the phrase that they have on their splash screen literally says, built on new technology, which is adorable. And if I was in marketing there, I don't not know that I would have signed off on that one. But I digress. So how did they run Windows 3.1 apps? Well, what they did is they used a complete PC emulator. Not a complete one, a partial PC emulator. Literally, it's a virtual machine emulating what is essentially a hobbled 486, 386 with some extra instructions that ran DOS, a modified emulated version of MS-DOS 5.0. This was called the NTVDM, the NT Virtual DOS Manager, or Virtual DOS Machine. NTVDM. I saw those letters a million times, and I just realized I don't know if the M stands for manager or machine. I'm sure I knew that at one point. I guess that was almost a quarter of a century ago that I was working on this. I'm still doing this from memory. So the NTVDM. So what happens is, inside of Windows 2000, right? And this holds true for XP as well. Let's say you want to go run a DOS piece of software, right? Those aren't DOS machines. That's not a DOS kernel. There's no native support for DOS on these machines at all. So what happens? Well, the NTVDM launches, and it launches a virtual machine that emulates MS-DOS 5.0. And I say emulates because it is not a pure MS-DOS. It borrows components from MS-DOS, but it also has other things that just kind of represent as MS-DOS. And in fact, this sort of system borrows a bit from the virtual manager in Windows 3.1. So we got to go back a little bit here. In Windows 3.1, when you launch a DOS command prompt, you are actually creating a virtual machine. I don't know if a lot of people realize this, but Windows 3.1 has both cooperative multitasking for Windows 3.1 apps and preemptive multitasking for DOS applications, because each DOS application runs in its own virtual machine that is completely independent of all the other DOS virtual machines. Totally independent, right? But the Windows 3.1 applications are all run using the same kernel with the same scheduler, and so those are cooperatively multitasked. That's why Windows 3.1 gets kind of a bad rap for multitasking, because a Windows 3.1 app that's behaving poorly can take down your whole system, can cause all your other Windows 3.1 apps to lock up. But a DOS application in Windows 3.1, it's preemptively multitask, baby. It's sweet, right? So they had two completely separate kernels, and one of them kind of handled all of those preemptive multitasked DOS emulated instances. Now, Windows NT borrowed a bit of that and went way, way further and actually created a complete virtual machine environment for running DOS applications built around DOS 5.0. So where does Windows fit into this? Well, in order to make the Windows 3.1 software work, what happens is you run a Windows 3.1 app in Windows NT 5 or Windows 2000 or Windows XP. And what happens is that NT DOS manager, that virtual machine that handles DOS, it kicks off an instance. Right now here's where it gets funky, because Windows 3.1 runs it's kind of bootstrapped upon DOS, right? And these instances, these virtual device managers, they provide the ability to run an isolated Windows 3.1 environment. So what you're really doing is running a extremely hobbled down Win16 environment on top of a DOS virtual machine on top of Windows NT. So Windows 2000 kicks off the DOS virtual machine, and then the Win16 environment that is based really heavily. I mean, it's not like a fresh piece of code. It's based really heavily on Windows 3.1. And in that environment, you can run as many Windows 3.1 applications as you want, but it's cooperatively multitasked, just like Windows 3.1 is. So what's crazy is, I think this is just, it's weird to me. I spent a lot of time testing this back when I was doing it. This was back in, 1998, 1999, 2000, thereabouts. If you can launch as many DOS applications in Windows 2000 as you want. Each one is independently, preemptively multitasked because each DOS machine is running separately. If you run Windows 3.1 applications, you are effectively in a singular, cooperatively multitasked environment that is essentially a streamlined, program manager-free Windows 3.1. So if one Windows 3.1 app crashes on a Windows 2000 or Windows XP machine, it will crash all the other Windows 3.1 apps. But the machine will still keep running, and all other DOS applications that are running on that machine that are not Windows 3.1 will continue to run just fine because they're all running independently and preemptively multitasked. It's kind of cool, right? I mean, it's kind of amazing that actually works. And not only did it work, but it worked incredibly, incredibly well. Now, here's something that kind of bugs me a little bit. This functionality worked tremendously well. And while a lot of resources went into the initial design and development of it, very little was required to continue that along. So Windows XP, for example, got the Windows 3.1 compatibility for free, essentially. I mean, people had to test it, and I'm sure bug fixes had to be made. I wasn't around during the Windows XP development days. I was long gone from Microsoft. No, I wasn't. I was at Microsoft, but I was working on the Mac side of things by that point. So I never really played with that. But the total amount of engineering investment into getting Windows 3.1 apps to continue to function under XP was limited because they weren't adding any new features to Windows 3.1, right? And they were still continuing to keep the DOS functionality around. What annoys me is modern versions of 64-bit Windows have dropped that. Now, yes, I agree. Do a lot of people still want to run DOS and Windows 3.1 applications in 2023? No. I mean, I guess a lot of people don't. But people like us do. And wouldn't it be a cool feather in Microsoft's cap if they could say it's 2023 and we still support applications written in the 1980s and early 1990s? I mean, what a cool brag, right? That's a boast. That's a big boast. It doesn't even have to be all of them. They could literally dedicate one tester and one developer to saying, okay, you guys keep the NTVDM running on Windows 11, Windows 12, Windows 13, whatever versions. And you keep that little mini Windows 3.x kernel up and going so that Win16 applications, 16-bit Windows applications will continue to function as best you can, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to work 100% of the time. It doesn't even have to pass certain requirements of running specific applications. Just do your best. That way, when we stand up on stage at the end of our announcement keynotes of all the amazing new whiz-bang features of Windows 10, Windows 11, Windows 12, Windows 14, 17, whatever, you can stand up and say, oh, by the way, still running the Windows 3.1 version of Microsoft Word, that still runs over a quarter of a century later, at a time when Apple is continually dropping backwards compatibility, right? Do they support Windows Mac OS 9 apps anymore? No. They're dropping increasingly Mac OS X applications as well. They're just dropping backwards compatibility support. Now, a lot of Mac people will be like, oh, Lunduke, you're not being fair. They support backwards compatibility for 5, 6, sometimes 7 years. No. That doesn't count. If you're not backwards compatible with your own operating system back a quarter of a century or more, you're not that backwards compatible. I'm sorry, you're just not. Linux has a little bit of this problem too. It's kind of hard to run Linux applications compiled in the 90s. Try it. Go and grab an Xorg graphical application for Linux compiled in, say, 1997 and try running it on a modern version of Ubuntu. Go ahead. I dare you. Most of the time, you're going to have no luck whatsoever. I mean, just none at all. I mean, heavens to Betsy, that's assuming that you can find a package that will actually install on your system. Good friggin' luck. App images make that a little bit easier, but still, it's not an easy thing. But Microsoft had the opportunity, they had the ability to keep Windows 3.1 and DOS software compatibility forever. They architected it wonderfully. They created a complete virtual environment that worked perfectly. I mean, really, in Windows 2000, Windows XP and onward. And they scrapped it. And yeah, is there some business thing where just tons of businesses need to run Windows 3.1 apps but really want to upgrade to Windows 12? Not really, not in any significant amount, so I get why they dropped it. But wouldn't that have been a cool brag? Be like, we're Microsoft. When we make an OS, we stand behind it forever. I mean, that's a cool brag, but they opted out. They opted to go the pansy way and drop all that NTVDM stuff and everything. Disappointing. Terribly, terribly, terribly disappointing. All right, everybody. If you haven't joined us for Windows 3.1 week, there's still time. If you're listening or watching this on or around September 22nd, Windows 3.1 week will be running until next Wednesday morning on September 27th. So go ahead, join us over at the Lunduke Journal community at lunduke.locals.com. Talk about Windows 3.1. Post pictures of your favorite apps and games. Post video clips or pictures or articles or reminisce or whatever about Windows 3.1 stuff. We've got some more fun stuff coming, and I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy it. All right, everybody. With that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerd and nerdettes, I do declare end podcast. That was a thing we did. Every other thing was not that. Boom, boom, boom. Jonas. Hey, longtime fan. Haven't seen previous lives. Hope all is well. Thanks for the content and hilarity and truths for years and years. You are very welcome, Jonas. Make sure you keep watching us. We are doing more and more live streams here over at YouTube, as well as Rumble and lunduke.locals.com. All the articles and videos exist over at lunduke.locals.com, so you want to be over there for all that stuff. And that's where I start talking about all that good stuff. All right, let's see. Where am I at here? Beautiful. Glorious. So thank you everyone for hanging out with me. I'm not. I'll hang out for a little bit longer if you want to do any sort of Q&A or anything like that. I really wanted to talk about the NTVDM stuff because it's cool and it's one of those things I got to work on, and those things come up and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Sometimes I have to hold myself back. I went over to Twitter. Was it yesterday or the day before? And the guys that make those Berkeley fonts, the company that make those commercial Berkeley programmer mono-spaced fonts, great fonts. They were talking about how awesome Excel is, and they were showing pictures of people who have built really big, like applications, like industry-specific applications that are just Excel spreadsheets with lots and lots of scripts and formulas and whatnot. And they're saying they're like this is how you do a UI. Excel. And I'm like, yeah. And it took every ounce of my being not to just dive into a rant about how true that is. I mean, I worked on Excel for quite a few years, specifically the programmability of Excel, and man, the things you can do is just awesome. Don Thornton Jr. asks, how is the subscription count going? Oh, we hit our goals, man. I talked about it in the first little show we recorded this morning here. But yeah, we hit our goals. Guys, we did it. The RSS feed's going up today. So what's going to happen with that is lunduke.com, right now it auto-forwards to a landing page on Locals. That is like it's like an article preview page, right? So it shows a whole bunch of recent articles and popular articles and things like that. I'm going to change that a little bit. So what's going to happen is that lunduke.com domain is going to forward to a specific article at lunduke.com or at lunduke.locals.com. So I'm going to be posting that article sometime later today. It'll be by the time I go to bed tonight, all this should be done. I've got a few tweaks here and there to make. It's going to forward to this article, and that singular article is going to list all the links. So it's going to have the RSS links, so people can just right click and drop that into their podcast catcher of happiness. And it will also link over to all of the places where people can get the various videos. It will link to all of the Linux Sucks videos. It will link to everywhere I exist on Rumble, on YouTube, on the socials, everything. So there's just like a one-stop shop for every possible link people could want to find stuff around the Lunduke Journal world. The other locals' sites, all of it. So it's just you go to lunduke.com, you get all those links. And I talked about this a little bit earlier, but how the podcast feed is going to work is wonderfully, wonderfully simple. So we're going to use Substack. because we have a Substack infrastructure in place. We've moved everyone away from Substack over to Locals, and we're not going to change that, by the way. We're keeping that exactly as it is. It's not going to change in the slightest. Oh wait, something's happening. There we go. That's not going to change. We're going to keep the Locals as the primary thing, but Substack does a pretty good job of being a MP3 hosting platform and handling the RSS feeds for us. So we're going to use Substack for something it's really good at, and free for us. So I'm going to do that. That way it remains ad free. We don't have to pay for anything, and it gives me total control over the end user experience. So people can, if they've already got the MP3 RSS feed from Substack, that will just begin working, which means we're already listed on iTunes and Spotify and a bunch of other places. Yes, WRL Jet, Windows 3.0 apps do work on 32-bit Windows. So you can, if you have Windows 10, you can get Windows 3.1 apps still working. Once they move it over to 64-bit Windows, they drop support, which means newer ones. Yeah, I think that's a travesty. I think they should update it. They should just update it so they could brag about it. I mean, we're gonna care. We care. I know most people won't care, but it's a cool thing in a keynote to be able to be like, oh, and one more thing. You saw all those cool features of Windows 14 that we just announced, all the spatial AI augmented reality features. Well, with your augmented AI reality glasses, you can run Visual Basic 1.0 for Windows. It just pops right up. That's cool. I think that's just a cool brag, and I think it's a travesty that they miss out on that. So the RSS feed is live right now, but I will post the official one so everyone knows exactly which one to grab, and that'll be all set going forward. Hold on a second. It's gonna be pretty rad. Everything else lives at Locals. So when we post all the free Linux Sucks stuff, that's all going to stay at Locals. I will also be sometime over the weekend. One of the things that I talked to people about was being able to get a download copy of all of the Linux Sucks related shows. And I absolutely mean that. So what we're going to do is I am going to put them behind an itch.io paywall, but it's free for all subscribers. So anyone on planet Earth can share, watch, and enjoy all the Linux Sucks shows. They can watch them when we live stream the 2023 edition at the end of the month. They can watch the recorded versions going back to the very first one all the way to the current one, as well as Mac OS Sucks and Windows is Awesome and all of it, right? They can watch all of it. But they can't easy download the official MP4s, DRM-free MP4s of all of them. That's just for subscribers, right? So people can watch them all from the website or the Locals app or wherever. But I'm going to make it a post. I'll do that sometime this weekend because I need to finish uploading all of them, where there will be a coupon code. So to get you a free download for all of them. So that way I can kind of gate them, because neither Locals nor Substack or anywhere else provides me with an easy way to do extremely large MPEG downloads, right? Like I can do video streams and video on demand and all that sort of thing, but to actually right-click, save as, download all these massive, just gigs and gigs of videos, they don't really provide that functionality. So we're going to put that all up on Itch, and so people can technically go buy it, right? Like people could go and I don't know what I'll set the price to. People can go and buy the download versions of all the DRM-free Linux Sucks shows. I'm fine with that. I'm probably going to make the price really high just for fun. Like it's going to be like $1,000 or something stupid like that. But no, none of you guys have to pay for it. If you're a subscriber to lunduke.locals.com, there will be a post. I will include a link to that post in the big link article that will be going up. So people can just go to that post, click the link, get the coupon code, and it's just free, right? So they can just grab it for free. Easy peasy. And then you can go download it straight from Itch, and awesome, glorious, and goodness. Let's see. So that'll be posted sometime later this weekend. The RSS feed stuff and that link page will all be up by the time I go to bed tonight. I'm not going to give you guys a timeline because I may have to be up late to do it because my boys have dance lessons this afternoon. And I've got a whole bunch of things to prepare for. All three of my kids play football. And we've got football games for all three of my kids tomorrow. So I got to prepare for that. My boys have dance practice tonight because both of my boys are in ballet on top of football. Yeah, my boys do both ballet and football, so everyone figure that one out. Tell you what, though, holy heavens, if my boys, how do I phrase this? My boys are very red-blooded boys. They like ladies, right? My boys like the ladies. If you want to really hang around with a lot of ladies and be the the belle of the ball, so to speak, ballet, man. And my boys just have a lot of energy. They have a lot of energy. One of them is very graceful. One of them is very not. And so we do both ballet and we do football. And yeah. They like all of them. They like all of them. My daughter doesn't touch dance. She's like, dance is dumb. She plays football. She plays football and plays video games. She's a nerdy football player. Oh, it's my family, man. Everyone does their own thing. All right, let's see here. So I think I've kind of answered all the questions. It's all pretty straightforward. If anyone has any questions, feel free to answer it for them. But the RSS feed stuff will be up later on today. I am going to post the recorded versions of this when I get the RSS feed up. So I'm not going to post the recorded version of this possibly until tonight. Because I want to make sure I have the RSS feed working exactly how I want it. I pretty much do. And I'm going to make sure that I have that link page in place. I'll post that first. Then the video versions will go up. Then the audio podcast will follow immediately thereafter. And they'll all be online and rocking and rolling. It'll be a pretty sweet time. So thank you again to everyone who helped make this happen. This is awesome. This is totally awesome. And also, that means thus ends Pledge Drive Month. We hit our goals. We did it. I mean, if anyone else still wants to subscribe, you should, because it's awesome. But, we're not going to do any more, here's a countdown. We got to go. We did it. We hit our goals. It's at this point, now we just have really cool stuff coming out that will just remind people how cool the Lunduke Journal is and that they obviously want to subscribe because we did it. We hit our goals. We're good. That's it. That's it, and that's all. Let's see here. Any other stuff? Zokru says I'm sold. Good. Anything else we got going on? Windows ME was my first operating system. That's brutal. Windows ME was just rough. Soul was a nerdy football player too. Those exist, man. So my boys, right? My boys are they're not rough and tumble boys. They're just not. My youngest boy is a little bit more so than my older one. My older one, he's nerdy, he's lanky and gangly, but he also has a tremendous amount of energy, right? He's a very graceful man. He just naturally dances. That's what he does, right? He just moves, and it's kind of impressive. And so he's in dance, but he also is in football, and he loves it. They're having a great time with it. But my boys, their teams, and my boys are younger, their teams are tough. The other boys on their team are tough. Oh my goodness, those are some macho little men. Like, they're just the most macho little 8-year-olds you've ever seen. Now, my daughter, she's on a flag football, co-ed flag football team, and it is nerds. It's just like nerds. Like just stereotypical nerds. Boys and girls, no one's macho on this flag football team. But it's fun. So we've got games all day on Saturday, and the boys are going to be out there with these 8-year-olds that are like, oh, and they're like, I'm scared of these 8-year-olds, man. They are tough little dudes, and my little boys are nerdy. But then my daughter's out there, and she's just out there with just this. It looks like they should be going to go play D&D at someone's house, right? Like that's like if you saw them walking down the street, you'd be like, they play AD&D version 2. That's what they do. They're second edition players. Like they look like the kind of kids that if you ask them if they play Dungeons and Dragons, they'd be like, well, actually, I play Pathfinder, and like that's the kind of kids they're like. They're fantastic. I love her team. They're fantastic. All right. What do we got here? Pledge Drive month has been terminated. Pray I don't extend it any further. Yes, no more pledge drive. Hockey is something we will be doing, actually. When football season is over, we're going to begin hockey. We kind of have decided that probably. There's an ice skating rink and some hockey that happens here in the swamps of Louisiana, believe it or not. And I think all my kids would enjoy it. None of them have, and none of them have a whole lot of experience other than just some casual for fun ice skating. So we're going to give it a try, and assuming that we're not all completely exhausted, we're gonna give hockey a try. I just think they'd have a great time with it. I really do. I just think they'd have a blast. We do a lot of stuff. We stay busy. So anyway, I got a lot of stuff going on today and tomorrow. So I'm not sure exactly what the timing is going to be, but the RSS feed stuff will be live today. Sometime over the weekend, it might be Sunday afternoon. All of the Linux Sucks videos will go free for everybody, as well as the Linux Sucks downloads for the subscribers. Pretty cool. Pretty darn cool. Thank you to everyone for making this happen. You guys are amazing. I can't believe I get to do this. I can't believe that I get to make this my job. You guys are wonderful. Yes, I do not live in Oregon anymore. My family left Oregon about 3 years ago. Actually, just about exactly 3 years ago. We left in September 3 years ago, and we have been traveling the country ever since, trying to find our new home, trying to find a place that felt right for us. We were, as has been pointed out, we're a weird family, and we have particular likes. We like certain kinds of food, certain kinds of music, certain kinds of culture, and we traveled all over. We visited family all over the country. We went to just about every national park we could. In some cases, we stayed there for a long time. Like we stayed at the Grand Canyon for a month. It was great. And we eventually, we never thought we'd settle in the swamps of Louisiana. It's called Acadiana, which is the Cajun country, the home of the Cajun people, basically. And we stopped here to go to a restaurant. We never intended to stay here for more than a week or two at most. We wanted to go to a restaurant, try some what Cajun food is like, cooked by actual Cajuns in Cajun country. We wanted to try that, and it was amazing. It blew our minds, and we really loved it. And so what started as a short stop turned into, we stayed here for a couple months. Experiencing the local thing. We went to brunches here. They have brunches here where it is Zydeco music playing all morning long, where people get up and dance, and you eat Cajun breakfasts that are just insanely delicious. And we just went to one thing after another where we just kind of got immersed in the culture. And then we're like, all right. We got to move on because we never intended to move here. This was just a stop. It was a pit stop for fun and food on the way to other places, Florida and various other states that we were checking out to consider moving to. And we moved on and we started looking at other places. And at one point we just looked at each other and I think we were all kind of almost afraid to voice it, but we missed Cajun country. We missed it. We just kind of were like, man, why? That was it. Let's go back. Like we felt like we were homesick for this Cajun area, and we never even considered it our home. But of all the places we stopped, and we stopped at some places longer. Texas, we stayed for over a year in various areas of Texas, and we were all over the map. Great places we loved, places that we really seriously considered settling down in. And we realized we were homesick for this, and it's amazing. It's a weird place. The weather is psychotic. The bugs are gigantic. The food is unreal, unlike anything anywhere. And I can pretty confidently say I've done a lot of traveling, both in the States and overseas, and I've never had food this good and this plentiful as what I've had here. And it's it's amazing. It's amazing. The music is amazing. The culture is amazing. What's really interesting is, I have had to buy new pants. I have gotten bigger since I moved to Louisiana. I absolutely have. That's not a joke. I really, really have put on some weight. It's amazing. So my kids speak French, which is a very weird and long story, but my kids are fluent in French, especially my daughter. She went to French school for many years, and we still have a French tutor that's a French friend of ours that tutors my kids regularly. We do little video chat calls and whatnot. And around here, people speak French. Well, they speak Louison Creole, which is essentially a sort of French. It's a French-derived, French-ish language, with a few tweaks and some accent changes, and definitely some extra fun local dialect words thrown in. But what's fun is half the stuff around here is all in French. Menus are in French in a lot of places. There's several French radio stations, just a lot of French stuff. And so that worked out really well for my family. So we got this little fluent in French and English family, and we moved to the one spot in the United States that's French and English. And that kind of worked out nicely. And on top of all that, when I was in high school, this is just a really weird, there's all this foreshadowing for us being here. When I was in high school, there was a restaurant in a town I used to live in called Alligator Soul. It was a Cajun-ish, it was Cajun-inspired restaurant. And I went there so often. Like when I had extra money, I went there. They had, get their beignets and their little crawfish etouffee, and oh baby, it was good. And we became really close friends with the daughter of the guy who owned the place. So we were friends with the daughter of the guy who owned the place, and we went there and we became very, very close, and we spent a lot of time there. We had a lot of events there. We had a really, really great time. And so we've had all these really weird kind of foreshadowing. There's a bunch more too, where it's just like, wow, if we were writing the story of where we end up, we peppered our whole life story with weird bits of foreshadowing that we would end up in the swamps of Louisiana. Wasn't ever on our radar, but it was obviously, it should have been on our radar. It was a fantastic time. All right, I'm gonna go. I am going to begin to prepare this link page that's going to go up. Once again, we have hit our goals. But feel free to subscribe still, because there's supporting the Lunduke Journal and the work we do is important. And the number of benefits for subscribing is increasing. So while we are at once taking some of the exclusives that were previously used to convince people to subscribe, including the podcast, now free for everyone with an RSS feed, the Linux Sucks show, now free for everyone, we're adding other stuff that is going to make people want to subscribe still. So you're not going to want to miss out. So make sure you've got your subscription. Thank you, everyone, for making all this happen. You making my dreams come true. I'm going to head off into the sunset now. I'm going to get all this stuff up. Keep an eye at lunduke.locals.com over the next day, because you'll see the posts on all that stuff and all that good stuff coming through. And you guys will have all the links. And no, I haven't gotten to hang out with the Duck Dynasty folks yet. They're quite a ways north of us. They are near the top of the state, and I am in the bayous down at the bottom. All right, everybody. That's it. We will not be doing another live stream until next week. Probably either Monday or Tuesday. I will let everyone know again at lunduke.locals.com when that gets nailed down, but there will be a Monday or Tuesday stream as well. All right, everybody. See you later.